Good morning, everyone. Today is the 28th of March, 2021, and we are very happy to have you all here in the audience and also in Facebook Live. This morning, we have Mr. Julio Valladares from Lima, Peru, who will be giving a very important and exciting topic. As usual, thank you, Ander, Raj in Canada, Gledy in Peru, Maria Elba and Beatriz in Bolivia, Lourdes Landa in Netherlands, Luis Bermúdez in Ecuador, Mercelinda in Guatemala, Chiara in Trujillo, Glady in Lima, Ana Maria Viloria in Colombia. Hello, Ana Maria, nice to see you. And Ruben, who is connecting now. Let me show some information, please, for our meeting today. Somebody who wants to read, please.
I'll do it.
Okay.
What a teacher is more important than what he teaches or she teaches.
Yes, I forgot the she, Beatriz. What a teacher is more important than what he or she teaches. Can anybody express his or her opinion?
If I can, I think this means whatever you believe in, whatever your heart is in, it's what you are going to be teaching.
Yes.
Because it's not just content, right? It's what you believe in and where your passion is. And I think that refers to that, to your essence as a human being and English teacher.
Very well explained, dear Beatriz. What about this second one, Lourdes Landa, before you disappear again?
Empathy quotes. There are two types of people. Those who come into a room and say, well, here I am. And those who come in and say, oh, there you are. Frederick Collins.
Beautiful, right, Lourdes?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, what do you, I mean, well, here I am, like.
You are the important. And when I say, there you are, you are the important. Then you notice, right? You notice, you pay attention to that person. Just like when you got in here, I say, oh, Lourdes Landa, there you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After a long.
Yeah. Next one, please. Anybody? Hello, Ruben. Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
You're on the beach. You're on the beach.
Yes, I am at the beach now. I'm going to cook at the beach.
Could you please, Ruben?
Sure. Empathy is about finding echoes of another person in yourself.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Sure.
So let's find echoes.
It's what you feel. You put in someone's shoes, and you have to feel like the way they do.
Yeah. And the last one, maybe Micaela, I don't know.
Hi, thank you. Like a garden, your body, mind, and soul needs consistent care. Be a good gardener to ensure your seed should thrive and blow.
Yeah, so yes, and bloom. Yeah, so positive ideas, positive feelings, positive beliefs, right?
Yes.
Okay, so who is presenting in March and April? Next conference will be given by Anthony Michael Exembulan from Nigeria. And then we will have Patricia Arbona from Argentina. And then our friend from the USA, Laura Holland. And finally, Julio Valladares, who is present here today with us. Thank you, Julio, for giving part of your time. Sunday morning, we should be sleeping, we should be relaxing, reading the newspaper, but here we are. Julio Valladares holds his MA in TEFL and Bachelor's degree in education. He also holds a diploma in Competencias Directivas from the Business School of Universidad de Piura, PAD, and a diploma in critical thinking by the University of Oregon. He has been a teacher of English for more than 30 years. He has worked for Británico, Richmond, Camelot as a teacher and as a teacher trainer, and has delivered academic lectures in different places like in Peru, Bolivia, Mexico, China, and the USA. He's currently working for Universidad de Piura. He's in charge of the Teacher Development Center of the University's Language School, and the academic coordinator of the MA and TEFL program offered by Universidad de Piura and Funiber. Welcome, dear Julio, and thank you once again. And let's give him a round, warm of virtual applauses.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Jaime, again for giving me the opportunity to share some of these ideas with you. And this time, I really hope you can also help me develop this idea, no? About talking about effective teaching practices, right? Now I'm going to share the screen, and I hope you can see. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okie dokie. All right. So before asking the question, what is your teacher self like? No, it says oneself, and it says oneself is a reflexive pronoun. Obviously, no, we know that, but it's a reflexive pronoun. So I think this is one of the key words, reflection, in our lives as teachers, as persons. No, so I have three questions here. What is your teacher self like? And then what are you like? And the third one is, do you think you are an effective teacher? How do you know?
Profound questions.
Yes. So how often do you ask yourself, what is your teacher self like?
Personally, when
Yes.
I see people like you, when I see other speakers, when I see other people working in classes or teaching through Zoom, especially there.
All right. But how would you imagine you're in front of a mirror, yes? And you say, okay, this is me, this is Julio. Or you are in front of a mirror in your class, or maybe in your online class. So this is, what am I like as a teacher? Raj, what would you say if I ask you, Raj, what are you like as a teacher?
I think, Julio, what I want to be honest with is that over the years it has changed. I used to think I'm the smartest and the brightest, you know, and now as I'm getting older, it is changing about that mirror that I see, image I see in the mirror is humble more than I was when I was younger. So that's my honest answer.
All right. Yes. Somebody else would like to contribute here? Thank you, Raj. What is your teacher self like? Sometimes we don't want to say it because we may sound like, okay, sorry, I'm the top of the top, and you know, oof, what am I doing here, man? No. Yes. Like,
or maybe
Raj,
the opposite, Julio. We realize we are not like we thought we were. We were not that good.
Definitely, yes, definitely. It's like something like I do, for example, is holding something in my hand, not to show that I'm a bit nervous. No,
yeah,
so that's part of my teacher self. I need something to hold something so I feel more secure. I don't know, maybe I have a psychological problem, but that's what I need, and that's part of my teacher self. Yes.
Lourdes wants to say something, right?
Okie dokie.
Yeah, that in my case, for instance, not that I would like to have everything planned, no, in order to anticipate any problems. So like if the students have a lot of questions, especially in high levels, like you are ready to answer, but on the other hand, I need to admit, no, that I may not know all the answers, all the colloquial phrases, probably if we are working with teenagers, no. So together we start discovering it. But yeah, I mean, like trying to have everything, not try to cover all the corners, so not to be unable to help the student, you know, and help in their learning. Yeah.
Right. That's it. So one thing is, in order to start with this talk, I think we should go inside ourselves and say, okay, what am I like as a teacher? What am I like as a person? Is it the same?
Maybe ask
Is it
yourself, would I like to be would I like to have a teacher like myself?
Yes, yes, yes. And usually when you're doing some teacher training courses, or when you're doing some class observation, that's what you reflect. You want the teacher who you are observing, yes, to be like you. Because according to yourself, this is the way we teach, and this is the way the learners learn. But how do you know that?
Yes.
Do you think your teaching is so effective? Are you not that humble? I mean, to say, no, I am the top, I am the best, so my learners learn. Because as Jaime said, no, here I am, the mighty Julio. No, and that's not that. It doesn't work that way. No. So the last question is, do you think you are an effective teacher? What is to you being an effective teacher? What is it? What does that mean? It's like being sorry, I mean, it's like being like Lourdes, that she likes organizing everything and be prepared for any unexpected things. No? Is it like Raj, that she realized that we have to be humble in order to learn? And I think this new way, this COVID era, has really helped us be more humble, especially, I mean, people that have been in the field for more than 30 years teaching. Yes.
Like you and me.
So, Jaime, you were saying.
I was saying
Jaime,
that
you were saying.
when I want to understand what effective is, I always think of a pill for a stomach ache or a headache. If it works, okay, that's effective. The same thing with us. If it works, if we get the aim or the objective that we plan and we got it, okay, then we are effective.
Okay. Yes. So we have different ideas of what an effective teacher is. We may think we are effective teachers, but in reality, maybe we are not. Or the contrary, maybe sometimes we think we're not that effective, and suddenly our students realize that you are an effective teacher. Yes. And then we have the question, are you a good teacher? Are you an effective teacher? What do you think? Are you a good teacher? Are you an effective teacher? Is it the same to you? Somebody would like to give an idea here?
Anybody, please, who wants to answer?
Now here with me, please, you have to cooperate and collaborate, because that's going to be part of my talk. I'm not going to do all the talking. You have to help me.
May I? This is Beatriz.
Beatriz,
Okay,
hello.
Beatriz, go on.
Yeah, now, these are very difficult questions to respond to, because I would like to believe I am a good teacher and that what I do in my classes now online are really helping my students to learn. But there are days, I have to be honest, that I am not really sure about it. I feel that I could be the worst teacher in the planet, and I feel that I am wasting my students' time. And the next day I feel well because things work well. So is there a way to really know this on a daily basis? I don't think so. Maybe year by year. And maybe sometimes I feel that I'm doing a good job. It happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was just walking on the street going to the bank, and all of a sudden this young lady stopped me and said, "You're Beatriz, right? You were my English teacher. And I want to thank you for everything you taught me." And I cried. But have we really touched and really made a difference in their lives? It's very difficult to respond to. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Beatriz. That's the idea. No, it's, when we talk about teaching, it's not just thinking about the subject we are dealing with. It's not just thinking about, in our case, English. Yes, if they learn English, they should learn something else. Yes.
Maybe that question. Sorry,
Yes.
Julio, maybe I was thinking that that question is so difficult to answer, just like, are you a good father? Are you an effective father? So that's why Beatriz says that it's hard. And sometimes we think we are, but when we see the results, then we say, no, we are not.
I think if we have a very straightforward answer and say, yes, I am a good teacher. Yes, I'm an effective teacher. I think we reach the end of our career. That's my opinion. That's my humble opinion. Yes, yes. As Beatriz said, sometimes I feel like I am. Sometimes I see that I am not. And I feel like, for example, in my case, frustrated. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the way. You say, are you a good teacher? I'm always in the process of being a good teacher. Are you an effective teacher? I'm learning to be an effective teacher every single day, every single class. Even with this presentation here, it's like, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to put it forward? Yes, Rach is going to be there. She knows more than I do. Roxana sometimes makes difficult questions that I cannot answer. No, so it's like, okay, let's go for that. Let's go into it and see how it works out. Yes, Raj, you were going to say something.
Well, yes, I'm very interested in this conversation, and thank you for posing this question. It's also about what is it that I'm looking at? Am I just looking at what I'm delivering and my content, or how am I relating with the participants or the learners? You know, how am I willing to receive feedback from them? So it depends on what we are measuring when we say how effective we are. So yeah.
Yes, and that's the idea, no? So usually what the research and the experts on this field says, are you a good teacher? It's like, okay, how you transcend as a teacher, as a person. Yes, an efficient teacher is what is more objective, is more measurable. Yes, but being a good teacher, you cannot measure that.
Right.
Yes, it's like what Beatriz mentioned, no? When she was walking on the street and she found one of her former students. I said, teacher, and recognizes her. That's what makes you happy. Yes, and in that way, on that day, you say, wow, I think I am a good teacher, at least for that student. No, or it happened to me when sometimes I fail a student, and the student said, Julio, I hope you can be my teacher next semester. But he said, but I failed you. Yes, but sorry, teacher, I really learned a little bit more. Yes, Jaime.
Sorry, Julio. Here, Lisette Cáceres from Ecuador in Facebook Live mentions the following. I'm the teacher that my students need me to be.
That's it. That's the idea. I mean, you're a student. That's why you have to transcend. Okay, how can you transcend there? It's not just, as Raj mentioned, delivering knowledge, delivering content. And that's what I always fight, and Jaime knows about that. Stop being instructor. Stop being instructor. Be an educator. Form people. You know, English used to be seen as that little subject at the school that was so unimportant, but now, no, it's becoming more and more important. Yes, it's part of that. Now it's becoming a hardcore skill. No computing studies and no English. Where are you going? Yes, Jaime, you were saying.
I forgot. I just remember. Besides another fear we human beings forget or have to struggle with is when somebody younger or with less experience than us observe our classes or pays attention to our mistakes, and we do not accept them. We are not that humble enough. I always remember Lourdes Landa, like 10 years ago, when she was observing my classes, and I said to myself, well, I have to be honest. And at the beginning, I didn't like her comments, but then I understood that I don't know everything, that she knows things that I do not know, and it happens. So that's what this group of people is beautiful, because we learn from everyone. So we need to be humble.
Definitely, yes.
It's funny that you mentioned this, because for you, it may be as an observation to from a younger teacher at that moment, but now for me it was actually learning from the different teachers I was observing, and it was a two-way, activity, and we both learned, So,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right. Okay.
Julia, sorry to interrupt you for a moment.
Lourdes.
You mentioned about being an educator, and most nowadays, what I hear also, and it's about being a facilitator. Because what's the connection? I mean, can we still be an educator and a facilitator, or?
Yes, an educator involves everything. Involves being an instructor, a good instructor, an efficient instructor. And part of being an instructor is being a facilitator. Yeah. So it's within the umbrella of, in my opinion, of educator. Educator should involve everything. Should involve how you also get connected with your students, how you motivate it, how you promote learning, is how you make your students aware of what they are doing with the language. Yes. So it involves everything. Yes. Now, as I said before, it says a good teacher transfers knowledge effectively. A great teacher does more than teaching, and that's what maybe Raj mentioned, inspires students and can never be forgotten. And great teachers inspires his students, or her students, sorry, the great idea. So inspiration, transcendence, that's what a good and a great teacher does. Yes, being an efficient teacher maybe is based on that, but what am I aiming at? Being a good teacher or an efficient teacher? I think it should be both.
Here we have a comment in Facebook, very interesting comment. Karen Alcivar Lord says, I think for any professional is a day-to-day learning process.
That's the point.
Yeah,
that's why now when I'm writing or when I'm preparing my classes of teacher training, I say the teacher learning process, usually we used to put the teaching, my teaching, always teaching learning, because teaching is, as Lourdes mentioned a while ago, it's a two-way process. It's only one way, it's two-way process. Yes. Juan, you raise your hand. You have a...
Yes, Julio. First of all, good morning to everyone.
Good morning, Juan.
Yes, and yes, I would say that the same question you asked are, am I a good teacher? Am I a good father, as Jaime said? Am I a good citizen? Also, yes. It's like we are living so many things in our life that if I love what I'm doing, if I'm sure of what I'm doing, I do want to believe that I'm a good teacher and I'm also effective, despite discourages, disappointing, despite all these things we are living in our own learning process, because that's what we have to. Yes, the same as, am I a good human, right? And I do want to believe, I repeat it, that yes, I am. Yes, I am, despite all what we are living in our world. Because otherwise, it's like teaching for teaching. Is that a good job? Teaching for teaching, right? So I would say yes. I want to believe I am. Because despite all this, I love what I'm doing. Thank you very much, Julio.
Thank you, Juan. I think now it's interesting because we are extrapolating the idea of are you a good teacher or are you an effective teacher to other areas of our lives, no? As a parent, as a person, as a citizen. And indeed, we have sometimes good days, bad days, but still we never give up. No, even when you're working in terms of parenthood, no. Oh, if you're married, you never stop knowing each other, your husband or wife, no. And we have good days, bad days, but still you are amazed. Like for example, no, sometimes I'm working with my wife and we see an 80-year-old or 90-year-old couple walking hand in hand and having an argument. And I say, gosh, not even at that age can we be that, I mean, peaceful? No. And he says, until death. That's why teaching and learning never stops. And we always say that. Now it's a cliche phrase, no? Never stop, lifelong learning, not long life learning. Everybody goes along and merry-go-round, long life learning. We're always learning. Yes, but do you really believe in that? Do you really do it? Those are the questions that we should also ask ourselves every day, every single class. Yes. An effective teacher needs to be able to work in a constantly evolving environment. That's why if being an effective teacher has to do more with something tangible. No? And adjust its teaching methods, no, based on the students' resources available and changing curriculum practices and requirements. And now we have lived that. Last year started that big change. That last year we started adjusting our teaching. And we are still having, well, in my case, I'm still having problems to become accustomed to this new way of teaching. Yes. A good teacher will perform for their students to keep them going. Yes. So promotes that or sets up that fire in their students. A teacher is effective if he or she can accomplish the planned goals and assign tasks in accordance with the school goals and those with a broader education system. That's what Campbell, Hughes, and Robinson said. Effective goals, assign tasks. Good teacher goes beyond that. Inspiration, transcendence. Yes.
And there is something important here to mention. What you have just said reminds me of, we were in this class observation course, and this British teacher always ask us at the end of our sessions, they ask us, aim achieved? And we had to say yes or no. That was our point of view. But then something incredible happened. Sometimes I said no. But then the rest of my colleagues who were observing me, they say yes, or just the opposite. They sometimes ask me, aim achieve, and I say yes, yes, yes. But my friends who were observing me said no. So it's good to pay attention to the perceptions, to the beliefs, the opinions of other people's, and not to think that what we plan, what we do, what we think a good class is, necessarily has to be. So we need feedback. I usually tell my friends, we sometimes need feel bad.
Yes, yes, that's a good point, you know. So yeah, I remember observing a teacher, and it was a she, prepared a grammar lesson, and she did a brilliant class board organization, classroom management. Everything was okay, but my question was, do you think your learners learn the lesson? Do you think your learners are going to use that grammar point effectively? And she started crying because she thought that she had done all her work in vain. And I say, wow, I mean, Julio, with that question, you throw all my effort to the garbage. And I said, no, I'm just asking you to think if all that effort really paid.
Here there is a comment. Sorry, yes. Sorry. No, go on, Julio, sorry.
The idea is, as Jaime mentioned, it says, we need something or someone that moves us to think more than to feel that we are good teachers.
Yes. Jose Lobo in Colombia, Julio Valladares, he says in Facebook Live, he says, but education in Latin America is so far removed from the tangible necessities of our peoples. We have a complex of inferiority.
Indeed.
Something to say?
Yes, yes. We're always, as Juan said, now we're always in different work, always going to have problems. We're always have downs. But if we think that we can be good teachers and effective teachers, we can make a change. It has to start somewhere. It has to start with somebody. So we can be the ones who can make that change, but we have to believe it. Because sometimes we say it from the mouth outside, but we don't believe it. We don't feel it. And that's the main problem. We can make a change, yes. Like in Peru, no, I don't know in Colombia, in Peru, there is not a strong organization of teachers of English. There are different groups. Yet, yes. But when are we going to have like a big, strong organization? I think I've seen Arturo Field around here in this group. So let's see what he can say. He has more experience on that. Yes, but that's a big change. That's a big step for a change. Yes, we know that the Ministry of Education sometimes they think that we are like robots, no? How do you say? Competencias, objetivos, and they change the names every year. I think they pay marketing. The teachers have to change all the words and all the lesson plans and all. Why? No? Here in Peru, the Ministry of Education said now all the students have to finish with an B2 level. B2? With 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a week in a school? With teachers who haven't even taken the exam? So we have to start little by little, step by step. Yes. All right, any other questions? No, please.
Anybody?
I don't know if I'm saying please, not more questions, or please, one more question.
We have 26
So,
guests. Anybody who wants to make a question or a comment? Brief comment, brief question? No one. Okay.
It's like, I don't know if that no one means something positive or negative, but I'm going to stick to something positive.
Isabel Vargas,
okay.
Julio, I think
Hello,
she
Isabel.
wants to make a comment. Isabel Vargas.
Okay. Good morning, Jaime. Good morning, Julio.
Hello,
and
Isabel.
everybody. Well, I totally agree with Julio about the Minister of Education. I work in a public school, and I think that all the laws, are the same. All the names that, as you mentioned before, they only change the names, okay, because they think that they are doing the best, but they don't care about students, and they don't care about teachers, because they only give rules, but they do not, they are not empathic with us, because we are facing a hard problem about this coronavirus, and the students are affected. The students and all of us are affected, but they only want, I think it's my personal point of view, they only want to demonstrate, the rest of the people, that they are doing something. They mention the tablets, they mention that they are doing the best. The students, sorry, the teachers are following courses, Peru Educa, okay, they are going to be well trained, but they don't consider that we are also human beings, that we have families, that we have to spend our time with our families. And also here we have the housework, and also lots of things to do. And also we need to rest. We need to rest, because in that way we are going to be healthy. And the same for the students, okay? They are spending a hard time. Most of them have lost their father, mother, or a person who they love. So it's not easy for them to manage this situation. because when we have them in our, for example, have a WhatsApp group at the moment, because I planning to have maybe in April to have more managed about this Google Meet, this technology. But they feel, and also they are, they need to be here. They need to be here because we are not going to have the class, good morning, okay, the content, okay, bye-bye. Okay, as you said before, like robots. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Isabel. That's it. No? And all the factors that Isabel have mentioned sometimes affect the idea of being an effective teacher. Yes, because it's affecting the teacher self and also it's affecting the student selves. Yes, so again, the question is, are you an effective teacher? Now, for example, now that we're teaching online, do you think your students are properly engaged, are properly motivated? Do you think whatever you teach or you deliver is going to be learned by the students? How do you know? Just because you use Padlet and all the e-tools that we have to use? How do you know that? How do you know you can be an effective teacher? Yes, Luis, you raise your hand.
Yes, Julio. It is difficult to figure that out because, you know, I think that one of the ways to determine that is the results, for example, of the evaluations. But even that in the long run may not be a realistic way to see things, you know. Is what happens when students go out and they effectively use English for example, in real environments. What I mean is, so when they travel or when they interact with native speakers. And it is only then when they realize that everything that we were trying to teach them, it was important. It was, but that's a problem. The students cannot see the results at the moment because it's only the teacher and the students. But when they go out, I mean, when they travel or when they have to work with Americans or British, it is then when they need to use their English. And when they see that it was worthwhile, I mean, all the time they spend in these lessons. So yeah, I would say that it is a difficult question to answer because there are many perspectives. I mean, there are many ways to approach the problem. And it's nice in a way, in a negative and in a positive way, to see that we all face the same problems in at least in the countries of those who are present right now. To see that we have exactly the same questions, exactly the same problems. In Ecuador, we're telecommuting, but nobody is helping us with the equipment, for example, or with the connections that we have to make. We have to pay for that. We have to pay for that, and it's not cheap. At least in Ecuador, these services, none of them is cheap. And telecommuting sounds like a nice thing because you are at home, but really we get sick because, I mean, I don't know how you do it, but I have to be sitting most of the time, and that is not healthy. But presently I have a condition which is a result of that precisely. And who's paying for that? Nobody. Nobody.
It's like when we're checking, now that I have to prepare courses for and we have to do a lot of research and reading. So you believe me, I have to work these glasses. So that really helps me with that constant exposure to the screen, no? Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's why at the beginning we said, if you say, yes, I am a good teacher, yes, I am an effective teacher, please say goodbye to your peers in the teaching profession and try something new.
Yes. Julio, Michael has a comment to make. Michael.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Julio. I want to look at this from two perspectives, from the external perspective and from the internal perspective. If there is no time that collaboration with other teachers, with other professionals is not important, I think this is the time it is. Because first and foremost, the situation on ground demands that teachers should get a kind of, will you call it feedback? Will you call it training? Will you call it learning from others? Will you call it applying new methods? That is, this time requires that. And even if a teacher is effective, or even if a teacher is, working towards becoming effective, I think this procedure can help, when he gets feedback, when he listens to others, when he improves himself or herself, and also, the whole thing will help to get him there. On the internal perspective, the teacher himself should not lose hope. I think there are teachers that even making some effort, but because of this issue of, am I going to be effective or am I not going to be effective, even the little they have, they will lose it. So this is also a very big, this is a good opportunity this time around, good opportunity for teachers to develop a kind of self-confidence, confidence, believing in themselves, telling themselves that we can do it, we can become that effective. So I believe if there is a way of which I don't really know how these two perspectives can be balanced for a teacher, I think there may be a way out to it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There is always a way out, Michael. Yes, and the idea is, as you mentioned, yes, we have to have faith, hope, that inner drive that every teacher has. Don't lose it. We shouldn't lose it. Yes, because it's very important to keep it up. Yes, Beatriz, you raise your hand.
Yes, and that was exactly what I wanted to say. Being a teacher is not just a profession or an occupation that you have to do every day. It's a way of living. It's a way of believing. So it's very hard. I think you have mentioned all the difficulties we are facing now. It's very stressful, not good for our health, not good for our families, because now we are working at home and they want, to be there for them as well. And I have cats, and even my cats have learned to sit down in front of the, the computer, sit down on the keyboard, or they have learned to, pull the cell phone from my hand so they have the opportunity to have my attention. But I would not call it a sacrifice, but it's something that I know I have to do because I love what I do. I love my students, although sometimes I would like to, teletransport myself and, choke them out. But I wouldn't be Beatriz Erazo if I would not have the opportunity to teach. So I pay the price happily. And I hope in 25 years, like 10 students are going to say, oh, she was good, then I'm going to be happy enough.
Okay, thank you, Beatriz. Julio, back to you.
Now, let's see. So what makes us effective teachers? Well, I was trying to say, paraphrasing the live by the sword, die by the sword proverb, it's in the Gospel of Matthew, I was going to, I put something like this, is effective teachers should teach by the sword, learn by the sword. So what idea I wanted to say is, like, we should set the example to ourselves too, not only to our students. If we always use that cliche, unfortunately it's becoming a cliche phrase, lifelong learning, we should live it, we should do it, we should go for that. We just don't say it because I am in this marvelous group and I have to be according. I have to be politically correct. And I have to say, yes, lifelong learning. Yes, that's what I do. Yes, but do I do it?
Yeah, there is something I would like to say, Julio.
Yes.
At the beginning of these meetings, some people ask me, are you going to give a certificate? That is one thing teachers always want. And I remember you saying how many certificates you have. It doesn't matter how many conferences or webinars or workshops you have been to. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you practice, when you practice what you learned. And the most important, when you share it with other people. Yes. And the last point is, this is something that I always do in my meetings, conferences, whatever they invite me to do. I ask questions and the teachers don't participate. And I ask them, how do you feel when you prepare something for the students, in this case you, and they don't participate? And they say frustrated. Well, that's the way I feel now. We ask we ask students to do what we don't. We want them to take an exam, we don't take it. We want them to dance, we don't dance. We want them to sing, we don't sing. We want them to study, we don't study. We want them to be more prepared, and we are not. So I agree with you when you say, it sounds Julio Valladares, but live by the sword, die by the sword. Yeah, if you want the students to do something, you first do it.
Yes, thank you, Jaime.
No, thank you.
That's the idea. No, it says you want to work on that effective teaching path. No, we have to focus on the understanding of why we do what we do and when we do it. Yes, so we have to think about our teaching, about our learning behavior too, about our professional behavior. Yes, and definitely nowadays, as he said, collaboration, peer collaboration. How often do you get together with another teacher and say, hey, now that you have online classes, Jaime, can you observe my lesson? Raj, can you help me with this? No? Or Michael, what do you know about assessment? I have a class in a diploma course. Can you help me for 10 minutes? Can you join my Zoom lesson?
How much?
Yes. But no, that's not collaboration. That's so the idea of collaboration, do we do it? That's also part of lifelong learning. Do we do it? Why not?
Richard
Yes.
Saul has a comment.
Richard.
Go on, Richard.
Yeah, good morning, teachers. I'm happy
Hello.
to be in your meeting. I'm talking from Contamana, which is a province, city in a province of Ucayali in Loreto.
Oh, very good.
Snow.
Welcome, Richard. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what I want to comment is about the last thing you mentioned, collaboration. But for example, I myself invited other teachers to form a group to revise grammar. And I told them it's free. And I chose a day, but even if it's free, but some teachers don't want to come together. So it's difficult task. And
yes.
I suppose difficult in other parts of Peru too. So it's hard to be an effective teacher with collaborating with other teachers when they don't want to.
Yeah,
thank you.
Richard,
very good comment, Richard. Thank you, Richard.
That's why, Richard, I put teach by the sword, learn by the sword. And sometimes we have to die by the sword. And Richard, I would really encourage you to do again and again. Maybe at the end I can write my email so we can get in touch and we can do something.
And count on me too, Richard. I can help too.
Yes, that's the idea. Yes. So think, give some room for thinking. Sometimes we have so many things in our heads with our families, with our peers, with our children, with our cats. Yes, but we have to give room for some thinking about our teaching learning behavior, our professional development. Yes.
And sometimes, Julio, with ourselves.
Time for ourselves. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Richard, wants to say something again? Richard?
Richard.
No.
Your mic. No? Okay. So
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Which of these items is a strong predictor of a student achievement gains? How do you know your students or learners learn what you're teaching? Just because you have lots of teacher experience?
No.
Teacher level of education? I have a doctorate, so please don't talk to me.
May I say something?
Yes, Richard.
I've been teaching for a long time, but every year I don't teach the same way. And it's because I have different students. As one teacher said,
Oh, he had problems with
He's gone.
connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
So teacher experience, teacher level of education, teacher type of teacher certification. And so which of these items is a strong predictor of student achievement gains? If you have all of them, does it really mean that your learners are going to learn what you teach? Does it really mean that you're a great teacher? A good teacher, an efficient teacher? Does having all of these factors make you an effective teacher? What do you think? Yes or no? No, Roxana says no. Why not, Roxana?
Thank you. It could help in a way. Well, we need to know how to teach. We need to know. It's not just only to speak the language, but no, then to have the how. But more than that is that I am go for the humanistic part, in which we need to understand our students. We need to understand their needs. We need to understand the way of learning, and we have to teach the way they need to learn. If I'm going to teach from my point of view, okay, it will work for a little number of students. But if it's not the same way they learn, they are not going to learn. So I have to diversify the characteristics of the students, and I have to teach in those ways. So each one is going to be involved. And how to know if they are learning is just by asking them, but not asking just the same day, because probably they will have a short span memory and won't remember for the next. But the next day or the day after, put it into practice. Not without a test, but just like part of conversation, and see how much they remember. And that will help me to say how much well I'm teaching or not. And as somebody said, I can teach, for example, a pre-intermediate level, but I have 3 groups, and I will never teach the same way the 3 groups, because the groups are different. So I have to personalize. Thinking of them. It's not more teacher-centered because the teacher is important. The teacher is just the tool, the same as the book. What are important are our students, are the participants, the way they need to learn, the way they want to be taught. And I think that's what is going to be help me. And that is part of the experience. That what I said, in a way it could help. I learned that through the experience, but I won't say I'm a good teacher because I have 30-something years teaching. No, not because of that. For example, in some of the cases, somebody have mentioned about the observing classes. I feel very pleased when my teacher asked me, Roxana, could you please go to observe my class? I need your help. Because they know that the idea of observing classes is helping, because when you're observing, you see some things different when we are teaching. There are a lot of factors that you cannot pay attention when you're teaching because you're focusing on your teaching itself. When you're observing, other factors that could help. So that's what you say, peer teaching, collaboration is quite important.
Yes, that's it. So definitely those factors, yeah, teaching experience is important, it is. Level of education, it is. Teacher qualifications or certifications, it is. Yes, but they are not necessarily factors that make you an effective teacher. It goes beyond, as you mentioned, Roxana. No, you have to go to think about your students, the needs of your students, also your needs, and that's why you say, do you know you teach yourself? Do you know what your strengths and weaknesses are?
Exactly.
And do you accept them? That's also a difficult point. Sometimes you could say, well, for example, the word empathy for me is difficult to pronounce, and I try to avoid it. No, because that's sometimes I have difficult words that I cannot pronounce properly, but I know that's my weaknesses. That's one of my weaknesses. Yes. So
Everybody has, don't worry.
Now everybody knows one of my weaknesses, but I'm not going to tell you all of them. No, you have to find out by so effective teaching. So what do effective teachers need to know and do? Definitely, you have to know your audience. That means your students, your learners, yes, their needs. Yes. You have to know the topic, yes. You have to know, but it's not only knowing, for example, if you're teaching a grammar point, it's not only the grammar point and how it works, but it's the use. How do you make them put that grammar point in use? Yes, as Luis mentioned, no, the students have to realize that what they are learning, it's important for their lives. And I think online teaching has, I think it has, in that sense, a very positive way of helping us to do that. Yes, because we can connect with different people from different worlds. For example, now I'm working in a COIL. I don't know if you heard about COIL. It's a methodology. And I'm working with an Italian teacher who is teaching culture in a Polish university. And we're going to get together our groups. I'm teaching an FCE prep course. So my students are going to get in touch with the Polish students, and they're going to work on the importance of culture when learning a second language. But we have to get together every Saturday or every Friday, I think, for 1 hour, 2 hours, discuss, and then work a program, and then start working again. And it takes time, yes, but it's interesting, yes. Know yourself, again, your strengths and weaknesses. Have a good command of language. Yeah, I think that's my opinion. Probably some of you won't agree with that, but I think our good command of language, in this case, English, is very important because that's a main weapon we have. It doesn't mean speak like a British or an American, no, or Canadian, no. It have a good command of language, no? Instead of, I'm not going to say the past tense of cook it, no, it's cooked. Now, but I'm not going to try to imitate, like my mother took a computer
on
down
Saturday.
To the room. No, I'm not trying to imitate British. Or no, maybe I'm going to say American English arrived. American Airlines arrived on the flight number 234. No, I'm going to speak with my Peruvian and Piurano accent.
Yes,
because that's what makes me a non-native speaker of an international language, and that's it.
I agree with that. With the accent.
Yes.
May I say something, Julio? This comment reminds me of David Fay when he was here, the regional real officer. He used to tell me the problem here in Peru, like in all Latin America, is the command of language. You can teach the teachers the strategies, the best approach, give them the tools, everything. But it is like if a doctor who doesn't know, who didn't study the 10 or years of his career or major, is the same with a teacher. They say, if they don't know how to speak, if they don't have a good command of language, they will get their students to repeat the same mistakes. So this is one and very important topic for teachers. If you want to be a teacher and you don't have a good command of language, do not teach.
That's the point. No? When saying a good command of language means knowing the language, how to use it, how to put it in practice. Yes, the accent is different. The accent is, in my opinion, is not that relevant. Yes. But we have to, and when you're teaching a language, it's not only a matter of pronunciation of every single word, but also of the intonation, the rhythm of the language. In Spanish, it's different. No, we have to say like it's a syllabic language. In English, it's different. That's why when we're teaching, no, it says, what do you do? And then when they listen, our students listen, what you do? And say, what? No? So that also has to do with a good command of language. Now you have to have good planning, thinking about your students, yes? And do some reflection. How often do we do we do some reflection of our classes, of our lessons? How often do you do it? Every single class, at the end of the semester, at the end of the week? Now we can record our lessons, and it's not only doing some observation to our peers, also we can observe ourselves and say, hey, wow, did I do this? Did I say that? Why I didn't answer that student question? Why my students were as if they were checking their mobile phones and they were not paying attention to me. So reflection is important. You mentioned, most of you have mentioned the importance of reflection. Okay, let's do it. We have to monitor the student progress and potential. Student progress, monitor. How do you do it? Just by giving them an exam? Okay, could be one of the tools, but what else can we do in order to monitor our students' progress and their potential? What else they can do? Yeah, Julio is not that good at speaking, but maybe he's so good at writing. How can I exploit that? Or half of the class doesn't like playing with Kahoot, and the other half, they prefer grammar. How can we put together Kahoot and grammar? So we have to think about these little things. No?
Sorry, Julio, before you go
Yes.
on, just a reminder, we have 25 minutes left.
Okay, Doki. Thank you. So what are effective teaching practices? Let's have some, shall we have some ideas? Do they have to do with knowledge? Do they have to do with teaching skills? Do they have to do with what the teacher is like as a person, as a professional? Do they have to do with the students? What do you think? What are effective teaching practices? Silence. Does it mean
We are thinking.
Oh, I have to give some time for thinking. That's it.
Yes.
That's true. That's one of the skills. Michael.
I know that you are doing it on purpose, right?
Yes, I know. Thank you, Jaime, for saving my skin here. Michael.
I think that all of them are important. All of them have to do with the practice, because not only the teacher, but the students also, they have to be willing of what we are trying to do, or we're trying to teach them. And that's important.
Yes. Okay, that's good. All of them are important. Thank you, Petri.
Marcelina,
sorry, Marcelina. Michael, you were saying something, or you were going to say something.
Well, of course, all of them are important, but in as much as they are all important, how far can we connect them to make them as a whole? Because they are different fragments and different levels. So this is where I would say reflection of all of them becomes very important, because when you mentioned reflection, actually, it reminds me of sometimes I have sleepless night because of one or two particular students. When a teacher begins to have sleepless night because of a particular student, that means that you are really thinking on how to harmonize this. So I think that's just it. How do I harmonize these things and make them as a whole so that everything will become effective as possible? Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Marlene, you raise your hand. Hello, Marlene. Good to see you after such a long time.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Julio. Yes. If I would like to reflect about question number 3, right? I think, students, it also depends on the kind of students that you have. They value, teachers for the way they are, right? The way they relate, the way you relate with them. That's something that especially, I would say, little ones, children, and teenagers value more than the professional aspect. That's something that I have noticed. But you also have students who are going to value more what they can learn in your classes more than just having fun. And I think, as teachers, we need to consider those aspects, because not everyone is feels like having a great time, like fun, only fun. And there are other students who are more into, I want to, let's say, learn grammar, I want to learn how to communicate, etc., etc. So as teachers, I think we need to cater all those kinds of needs, right?
Yes.
Because, and also, as teachers, I think we reflect what we believe in. Honestly, as a student, I remember I was more academic. Having gains was not a big deal for me. Or just having, I remember a teacher that taught me the language center in Lima, who was very much into playing games, I mean, telling jokes to the class, right? And for me that was fun, but that was not enough. And this teacher taught, every week would ask us to submit homework that he would never give back to the class. And my classmates were very like, okay, yeah, but he's fun. I'm talking about this, it happened to me many years old when I was only 20, 22. And I was disappointed, right? But I didn't want to go against the whole group. But you see, we had different types of personalities in class. And the idea is to mix. And as Roxana said, it's necessary to individualize classes. We cannot say that all my groups, because they are teenagers, they just want to have fun, or because they are adults, they just want to go into more mature, more professional things. We need, that's why we have the first lessons, and we explore what our students are like. So
that's it,
right? And if you don't mind my commenting on what you said about pronunciation, the key thing is intelligibility. Students, teachers, we cannot be experts on a language. There is always room for improvement, definitely. But as long as we are intelligible, that's good. And if we feel there is something to improve about pronunciation, there is always room for that. It may take more time, and as the more experienced we are, probably we are a bit more reluctant to go back to being students. And I think, that has happened to me also, because I'm taking a course and then I say, okay, go back to this one more time. I remember I did it 20 years ago, but I need to, let's say, to follow what I preach. No, we never stop learning. We need to be more humble. Let's see.
Yes, that's
all in all. Thank you. That's
all
I want to say.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you.
May I?
There you are. Just give me a minute. There you are. It's like, do you have the third one? Or do they have to do with the teacher? What the teacher is like as a person, as a professional? You're bringing all those moments in your life, Marlene, that as a person have made you do what you want to do in class, because you don't want to repeat the same thing. And also as a professional, now you realize that you have to find a balance. No? Okay, fun, okay, that's okay, but not too much. Yes. The part of formal teaching is great too, and then I have to find a balance here. No? That's the idea of this. Yes, somebody, Roxana, I think it was you?
Irma in Ecuador.
Oh,
Irma.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hi, how are you doing? Good morning. I just wanted to share, like, in order to plan based on my experiences, to consider and remember and reflect on what worked for me when I was a younger girl, when I was a student in high school, what worked for me as a student during the college years and the master program, and take that as your background, as your general knowledge, and then balance and consider what my students need. And in order to combine those components, then thinking in the plan, thinking in the activities, thinking the transitional activities that I should include in my classes, and always evolving, because the pandemic has shown us that we are here for learning. Like I said, teaching is an endless learning in a two-way street. So we have to adapt, we have to be creative. I needed to learn about Zoom. I needed to learn about breakout rooms. I'm learning how to include some platforms so I can increase the writing of my students, since they are adults and beginners. So I just wanted to comment that we need to use our own background, our own experience as students during, in my case, during high school and college levels, and also try to transfer there in a positive way with the new generations that we're teaching, with their skills, with their needs, and also teach them the skills, because they are there in class to learn. to become comfortable with the language, to be able to communicate with English. Thank you. That's the only thing that I wanted to comment.
Thank you, Irma. That's it. Definitely, experience cannot be left aside. And the key word also mentions adjust. No, we have to adjust what we know with what we want our students to know. Yes, that's a good point. Luis, no, sorry, Marco Giron raised his hand first, and then Luis.
Hi, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, Marco. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Hi, Julio Valladares. You were my teacher. I'm an excellent teacher. Are you the one, man? Hi, Jaime. Hi, everybody there. I just wanted to mention that pronunciation, and I totally agree with you when you said about that it doesn't matter where you are from, it doesn't matter the way you speak, but that deals with the accent. So everyone from every country have their own accent. So, but the thing is, we talk about pronunciation, that's a different thing. I remember when I studied at Maná Centro Fidel, where Jaime studied there too, we learned something about like the house of pronunciation, which says that if you want to improve your pronunciation, it doesn't matter where you are from, like I said, but you have to do very well about the vowels, consonants, intonation, rhythm, and stress of the word. So to have a good communication with native speakers, because you said also something very, very real, which is that Spanish is syllabic, it's word by word, okay, the way we speak. And in English, just a group of words. Subgroups that we send to someone to be understood. Okay, just thank you much for my participation.
Thank you. That has to do with what Marlene mentioned, no? Intelligibility. Yes, that's one of the objectives that we should have as non-native speakers of the language. Thank you, Marco. Luis, one more.
And more minas, Julio.
So I just wanted to comment on that what your words, Julio, what you said moments ago about being that did you think that you're an effective teacher, you have to say goodbye. That's a little bit shocking, but I think it's very true. Because the moment that you believe that you're an effective teacher, you stop evolving. You stop, I mean, you think, okay, that's it. I'm already an effective teacher. There's nothing for me to learn. I don't need to learn anything else. And in a way, you become a fossil. You have become like a fossil is dead and it's in a stone and it doesn't move and it cannot, I mean, it cannot change. But teachers, there is even a word for that, fossilization. Teachers, some teachers become fossils, living fossils. And we have to avoid that. And the only way to do it is by believing that we need to learn more than we already know, that we need to change, especially now in this instance with the coronavirus and everything. We need to reinvent ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. Yes, Irma mentioned that the teaching learning process is a two-way street, and definitely it is. We not only teach, but we also learn, and students not only learn, but also teach the teacher. Yes. So this is something that I got from San Diego State University, one of the research papers that effective teaching has to do with knowledge, skills, and attitude, something that you more or less have mentioned, no? Pedagogy, context, content, yes, skills, organization, interpersonal skills, communication skills is so important, empathy, open-mindedness, and student-centeredness. No? What is your attitude? No? What about your skills? Maybe you can be a great teacher. Yes, you can be an efficient teacher, but what about that communication skills? How are you doing with that? How are you doing with that interpersonal skills? How are you doing with the pedagogy, your context, the content? No? Yes, everybody nowadays is talking about the wellness and the empathy, but do you do it? Do you really practice it? Not only with yourself, but with your students? So there's something to think about here. So if we are effective teachers, or we are on the way to, our teaching practices are effective too? That's a question that says that effective teaching practices go beyond the close monitoring, the adequate pacing of the classroom. That has to do with classroom management. Yes, the presentation, the plan of the lesson. No, it goes beyond that direct instruction. Yes, we have to go beyond that. Sometimes we think we're having good, effective teaching practices just because we follow the PPP or the TBL or whatever the method you're using. Yes, that you plan your lesson well, but what else? Yes. Now, these aspects have generally been shown to have a positive impact on student achievement, but are they enough? Again, what else is needed? Are you or are we providing opportunities for learning to our students, or we just go in front of our screen and say blah, 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 blah? Any questions? No, blah, 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 blah. Do you understand? Yes, blah, 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 blah. Okay, exam, 20. Yes, my students learn. Clap for Julio, he's a great teacher. Clap for Julio, he's an efficient teacher. How do you know? How do you know? Have you developed any of your students' learning skills? Any strategies? How do you know they are going to use the language you have already introduced to them? What about the motivation? How do you motivate your students to continue learning? To be in your class? Sometimes they have to be in your class because they have to be. They don't have a way out. Yes. So those are questions for us to think about and to say, okay, what am I doing here? How am I giving my students learning opportunities? Learning, not teaching, because we always think about teaching, our teaching, my teaching. But what about my students learning? So what we bring to the class, yes, professional competence is believed to be a crucial factor in classroom and school practices. Yes, professional competence. Are we a competent professional in our field? How do you know? If you say, yes, I am, how do you know? Because I have the proficiency, because I've been to Costa Rica, because I've been to whatever. Because I'm a friend of Jaime. Yeah? So how is your professional competence like? So effective teachers care for her or his students, care for himself or herself, care for the way he or she teaches. Effective teachers respect, obviously, the learners, but also respect themselves. And you say, how can I respect myself? By doing your job well, by not only 1 minute before the class and say, okay, what do we have to do? Okay, open your books, page 22. Now we're going to do experience in teaching. Exercise number 1. All right. Then you're not respecting yourself as a teacher. You're disrespecting. Yes? So effective teachers teach. Effective teachers learn. If you just go with the idea of teaching, yes, you are just half of the way. You're just half of the street. You have to think about learning, not only learning yourself, but also learning the learning of your students. You have to worry about the learning of your students. Yes? Not only teaching, and sometimes we focus so much on teaching. Yes? We focus so much on teaching. What about learning? Effective teachers share. How often do you get together with your peers? How often do you get together? Not if you're the coordinator, not as a coordinator, but as a teacher. How often do you share your ideas? How often? Now we heard Richard, I think, yes, that he tries to organize groups of their students. Okay, now Jaime and I, we can think about something that they can, to motivate those teachers to learn something else, to have those lessons. That's sharing. How do you motivate and engage your learners? How do you motivate and engage yourselves when teaching? Now we are sometimes kind of fed up with being in front of a screen, but how do you motivate yourself? How do you engage your learners too? One thing is motivating, but the other thing is engaging. Yes. Effective teachers are responsible for their learners' growth and learning, not only learning, growth. So if the class, a simple example, no? If the class starts at 9 a.m., I am in my class 5 minutes before. If my class is with my students at 7 a.m., I'll be there 10 minutes before. And I'll be wearing my jacket to respect, as a show, as a sign of respect to them. 7 a.m. in my class. No, I won't be having my cup of coffee in front of them. Maybe later. Yes. So that also growth. Are responsible for, effective teachers are responsible for our own growth and learning. No? So effective teachers make the teaching learning process visible, tangible, useful, make your teaching learning process alive. Make it alive. Get them to talk, get them to do something. Get them to use the language. There you will see if you were an effective teacher. Effective teachers involve learners or students in decision making. And that's something sometimes is difficult. What do you want to do today within your lesson plan, obviously? Well, we can do writing first, reading afterwards. No, don't do that, because according to the teacher training centers, first is reading and then is writing. Why don't you change? Why don't you let your students or learners make that decision? No? Effective teachers make their learners or the students aware of how they learn and reflect on their learning. We can see that on the books of when you're teaching primary, you know, they have a happy face, like a neutral face and a not so happy face. They're giving the idea of reflection. But what about in secondary? What about at university level or a language school? How do you make them aware of how they are learning? How do you make them aware of the importance of reflection? And it's not only a question, is, did you like my class? Did you learn? What if I tell you, what if I ask you the question, I say, Julio, I don't like your class. I didn't like your presentation. Okay, tell me, what do I have to do next time so I can do it better? You should do X, Y, and Z, but I say, no, I'm not that kind of teacher that does X, but maybe Y, yes. So we start working on an interesting and profitable and enriching discussion. No? Effective teachers create a positive and empathetic learning environment. And believe me, I've been practicing empathetic many times before pronouncing this word now. Yes? So how do you create that positive and empathetic learning environment? Now that is more difficult in online, because face-to-face, it was easier, faster. But online, how do you do it? Yes. Effective teachers provides positive feedback to students or learners. Feedback. How often do we give feedback to our students as a whole class? Okay, it takes time, yes, but maybe as a whole class. Yes. Effective teachers, before we finish, I know we have 4 minutes. See the teacher. See the teaching learning process as a science and as an art. Yes, you never know what's going to happen in a class. You never know what the needs of the students are. You never know what your students or learners like or don't like. You never know when your weaknesses are going to crop up or show up. Because sometimes when usually we enter our classrooms with our strengths. But you never know when somebody's going to come up with a question that you don't know, or with a word from the book that you didn't pay attention to and you don't know the meaning. What are you going to say? Or with your pronunciation, sometimes we have difficult words to pronounce. Yeah? So what are you going to do? Effective teachers do self-reflection and reflection because it helps us discover areas for improvement. Yes. Reflection and self-reflection. Effective teachers do peer observation and self-observation. Now that we have, let's take advantage of the online because everybody's complaining. We spent a lot of time preparing lessons online. It's not the same as face-to-face, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now take advantage.
I have to wear glasses.
Yes, I have to go to the ophthalmologist because I'm spending more money, no, and blah, 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 blah. But it's also an important tool, the online teaching, to do some peer observation and self-observation. How often do you observe yourselves after a lesson if you're teaching in Zoom? How often? How often do you ask your peer to observe you? Not a coordinator, your peer. How often do you talk about that? That makes us effective too. Yes. Peer observation, self-observation, we have a better opportunity to have an insight, a more profound insight of our own teaching practice. We can improve or better our understanding of who our learners and students are like. Sometimes we don't see the students. It helps us to get a more holistic view of our classroom environment. Could be face-to-face or online. Okay, my dear colleagues, that's more or less something that I wanted to share with you, and I hope it has been of some use for you. That's it. Thank you very much, Jaime. Thank you very much, Julio, to all of you.
Could you stop sharing your screen, please?
Okay.
Okay. Question number one. Could you share your PPT so I can send it to everyone who is interested in reflecting? I have to be 100% honest, and I have felt like if I were in trial in front of the voice of my conscience. I have to accept my mistakes. I have to pay attention to my weaknesses and try to change. And on behalf of everyone here, Julio, I thank you because every time you talk, we start asking ourselves what we are doing, why we are doing it, how are we doing it, and can we improve? And that's the idea. The profession we have chosen is one of the most difficult ones, but also one of the most beautiful ones. We are not here because of money. We are not here because of fame or popularity or whatever. We are here because we love what we do. We are passionate about what we do. And that's why today we had like 5,000 people following us in Facebook and saying that these ideas are good, because it's beautiful to reflect, and much more beautiful when we do it in this such a humanistic way that you've done it today, Julio. I don't know, we have just a couple of minutes for somebody who wants to make a short, small comment, please.
Lourdes raised her hand. Lourdes raised her hand.
Lourdes in Netherlands.
I will try to be very brief. I thank you, Julio. I had missed that passion and that because you always push us to become better and to reflect. And that has been something that is stuck in my mind and to be in my profession to develop. And reflection means time, and also reflection is a habit. So maybe at the beginning it just take like 10 minutes, because we have a lot to reflect, a lot of questions, a lot of concepts, and then you may be demotivated because I cannot do it. And then it's just like, maybe, okay, I start with 3 questions maybe, or 2 questions, but 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but like every single day, it's a habit. And then it will become like, okay, I know what's wrong with me, then I can study what can improve. And even in a country like here in Europe, where you can think, the education could be the level higher, but with the pandemic, everyone has had troubles, and there is always room for learning, for improving, and considering the students and the teachers themselves. That's it. So thank you, Julio.
Thank you, Lourdes.
Thank you, Lourdes. Anybody else? One more, somebody else, please, who wants to express his or her opinion briefly, please.
Okay, should I talk for a very briefly? You know, I would like to thank Professor Julio and also my dear friend Jaime and Kahima for this space. And you are letting all Latin American teachers to reflect upon what we have been doing. And it is also a possibility to not only reflect, but also network, which is now necessary, because we are taking examples from all what you have been doing, and all your insights are nice to be incorporated and to grow as a whole community of teachers who are always like looking forward to see how we can do in order to grow our practices. Thank you for such an outstanding insight you have been sharing today.
Thank you, dear Ulises in Colombia. Well, I always ask the audience, final words or last words, Julio?
That's a good question.
You choose.
You're making you're working on my decision making. Just to say thank you, indeed, because it's always a challenge to present this kind of talks in front of so many experienced teachers. Some of you may not agree with me, some of you may agree with me, but the thing is that we show respect to one another, and that's also an important issue that we're trying to develop in these kind of meetings. Also, the idea of working on your humbleness, to accept ideas that they are not your own, or sometimes when you have prepared your presentation and there is a point in which can destroy your presentation objective, and you say, okay, all right, that's a great opinion, so I just keep it to myself, and then I try to change and use it in a different way and in a different occasion. And as I said before, I learn. It's not just a cliche. Again, it's because I'm really learning. Because I learn from Marlene, I learn from Juan, from Beatriz, for all, Ricardo, for Jaime, yes, Lourdes, Richard, and I think Richard is giving us an opportunity to
definitely
to do that sharing that we always mention here, to be real. I think let's continue being real. Let's continue learning, and I promise to be in the next Sunday meetings. I've been working on that COIL program. That's why I was doing something else here. But once again, thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes, in Zoom. I would like to. We run out of time, but Arturo Phil, president of this new organization of teachers in Peru, is here. So I would like him to say just a few words, Arturo.
No, the only thing I wanted to share with you is it's always a pleasure listening to Julio. And thank you, Jaime, for organizing these type of events. I think they really help us as teachers to grow as teachers, as Julio says, no? And wherever we are in the position we are, or what we like doing, I think that we all work in the same, towards the same goal, no? Which is improving the quality of the teaching in Peru and all Latin America, and maybe all over the world. No, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Julio. It's always a pleasure listening to you. Jaime, great work. I think this is what we need as teachers. And thank you, everybody. Nice seeing Marlene again after a long time, and all these people I haven't seen, but we're in the same path. Ruben, the same thing. Ruben, nice to see you again. But this is the idea, no? Let's keep on doing this, Jaime. You're doing a great job. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Arturo. And
sorry to interrupt, Jaime. It's that for the ones who don't know the Peruvian situation here, Arturo is like the godfather of the English world.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like when we go to his office, we have to kiss her the ring.
No.
So
No.
no, that's why
The rings.
The rings.
The rings.
Oh, the rings. Okay, yes. That's why it was a pleasure to see him here, and also Marlene. I've known Marlene for so many years. It's also Marisa Waco, and always Ruben.
Yes, Ruben.
Ruben is what do you call the one, the certification you got now, Ruben?
The certification,
yes,
among others.
Speaking of humbleness,
yes.
So I think, no, thank you again. Jaime, back to you. I'm just wanted to say hello.
Okay, you, Arturo, and Julio were talking about the Peruvian friends, and I'm so lucky not only to have friends in Peru, but great professionals like you two, like people in Colombia, like Mercelinda in Guatemala, Juan, where are you in Colombia? Juan thinking?
Medellin, Jaime.
Medellin, Ana Maria in Colombia, who else? Beatriz in Bolivia, Raj in Canada, and that makes these meetings very, very enriching, very beautiful. And Arturo said that we grow up as teachers, not only as teachers, Roxana Tenorio told me, but we grow up as human beings. We are head to head, shoulder to shoulder, to listening to our problems and our family issues and everything. So thank you very much, Lourdes, Luis, Marlene, Mercelinda, Marco, Roxana, Julio, Beatriz, Arturo, Marisa, Micaela, Juan, Richard, Ulises, Ana María, Cintia, Rubén, Isabel, Marianela, Elizabeth, María Augusta, María Karina Mendoza, Rosa, and everyone else, and all the 7,000 people who followed us in Facebook Live. Thank you, and see you in 2 weeks, right? When Michael, hello, Michael. Well,
I'm with
you will be presenting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you are the next one. So be prepared for a wonderful presentation in 2 Sundays. Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you.
Soon.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you. Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, Rosanna.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Time to cook. Time to cook, Ruben.
Thank
Sure,
you.
always.
See you
Everybody
guys.
have a
Do
blessed
the cooking and the ironing.
blessed Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Among
Thank you,
other
Jaime.
certificates.
Thank you, Mr. Jaime.
No, Mr. Jaime, please.
Congrats, Julio.
Okay, thank you, teacher
Bye-bye.
Jaime.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, Julio. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ruben, time to
Bye,
cook.
everybody.
Bye, Micaela.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye,
Marianela.
Julio. Bye, Jaime.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Micaela.
Thank you very much, Julio.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.